Man, it really feels like Crimson Desert has been out for years, doesn't it? The game is absolutely amazing, and the game has changed so much in the last couple of months. The patches for this thing have been massive. People still absolutely love and enjoy it, and if you haven't played it because you were thrown off by something that you saw in a review when this game first came out 5 months ago, I would suggest that you rethink buying it because it has changed so much. It has improved the economy, the combat, the literal everything. Everything has been improved not once, not twice, but most things have been improved literally 3 times over at this point. The game is an absolute blast, and if you had some kind of minor gripe and you didn't buy it initially, now is the time to rethink, considering it's probably going on discount sooner or later and all the time at this point. And it's great. People still love it. It's a wonderful game, and I want to catch up and see what's happening with it.
Talking about Crimson Desert again. It's been out for a few months now. It released in March, if you remember. Normally, when we revisit games, it's usually been a significant amount of time, like a year or so, or like a big expansion pack or something like that. But with Crimson Desert, right after launch, they started releasing significant updates and fixes at a pretty breakneck pace. So we figured we'd take a look and see where it's at now. To be honest, we didn't really know what else to call this video, so just consider this kind of like a before you buy light version. It's not a full critique or review, but a rundown of some changes. Crimson Desert is a game that is confidently not for everyone, and that's okay. Not every game should please 100% of all people all of the time. People like different things. There are frustrating aspects to this game and some legit turnoffs. I personally just happen to be on the side that enjoyed this weird, messy, beautiful, oddball game, so take that for what you will. My original Before You Buy video for this game, when it released, is still on the channel, so check that out if you haven't seen it for my full opinion on the game. But right off the bat, how we did this is we had Andrew on the team with me. He hasn't played Crimson Desert, so he fired up a new game from the start and played the opening hours, and I asked him a bunch of questions about his experience. Then I also, on my end, loaded up a save that I had that was like 14 hours-ish and played around that way, just to try and get a sense for someone that maybe fell for the hype, played at launch.
This puzzle, by the way, is too complicated for the average game journalist and is a rage quit. Now, granted, they would rage quit long before that, as Dark Side Phil, but still, too complicated. Not enough yellow paint, as we all know. And if there's no yellow paint, it's unplayable for the modern audience.
And then fell off the game, jumped off the game for whatever.
And the modern audience obviously exists. So the fact that Crimson Desert lost all of the modern audience is naturally a massive blow. Unrecoverable, in fact.
Whatever reason. So keep in mind, I can't show you every single thing.
There's probably someone watching that who has no idea who I am, found this video for the first time, and they're like, is this guy retarded? Is he? Seems like it. Now, granted, true, based, and real, but still.
In footage because there are so many little additions. It's mostly general footage running around in the newest version, but okay, to answer the question, is Crimson Desert a radically different game now? No. It still has a lot of weird, confusing tutorials.
Okay, listen. Go to Sky Island, find a fucking laser block, bring it down there, place it on the ground, watch it one-shot the whole village.
And open section stuff. The game takes a while to actually get really good, and the story is still mostly outright not very good. But
oh, they were talking about story improvements. Now, granted, how they're gonna achieve them, no idea. But they were talking about potential story improvements. If you don't know the history of Crimson Desert, the story was kind of pretty much decided on months before the game's release. I'm talking less than half a year, because no one had any idea what's happening. One of the funniest things about Crimson Desert is there's no Crimson Desert, which is funny.
I think the fixes we have seen so far are way more than what you'd see with an average single player open world game. And the game is just in a much better shape. It's a
This is true, by the way. When Crimson Desert came out and they did the first hot patch, and it was like literally 50 bug fixes and already multiple improvements of quality of life, people were making fun of Bethesda because Bethesda's biggest patch up to date in the last 2 decades is roughly 5 bug fixes, and 3 of them didn't actually fix the bug they claimed they did. And that's not me joking, that's just the sad state of Bethesda. And Crimson Desert literally just made patches this large with hundreds of changes every couple of days. While Bethesda made a literal fucking spectacle about it, the fact that they fixed one bug in 5 months. It is night and day.
lot of micro fixes and convenient updates that add up to a smoother experience. Is it the most exciting after going through it all? No, it's not really all the sexiest stuff, but the pace and energy behind the developers is notable here. If they continue, and it seems like they will, then in another year, then I expect the game to feel even more different. There's an argument to be made that the game should have had all this stuff at launch, and it's a bad move that they released something that was essentially play tested by people who bought it for full price. I think the base game was still enough to counteract that, but still, that's a whole other video we could do on various companies that I think do it way worse than this. Anyway, one of the notable updates right off the bat is difficulty modes. Crimson Desert it launched with one difficulty, and by April, it was updated with an easy, normal, and hard mode. Normal, at its base, was very tricky in spots, so easy mode is nice for some people that want more of a kind of standard open world game experience.
No.
And feel, enemies are less aggressive and just less insane overall. Easy mode gives you less damage taken, better windows for parrying, and stuff like that. I think these tweaks.
You see that? You see this little fucking puzzle that everyone can solve because there's literally nothing else you could do here except maybe I guess try to pull out. Yeah, this is way too hard for the average person to figure out, okay? So if you are capable to solve this puzzle right here, you are a genius. And you may actually be smart enough to even potentially be capable of playing and solving and finishing Little Freddy Fish the puzzle game. That's right. If you can do this, you could potentially be smart enough to finish Little Freddy the Fish. 1 and maybe 2 if you're lucky, okay? 2 is a completely different level, okay? The puzzles there are insane in the membrane, okay? Maybe. One day.
Stuff like that. I think these tweaks are going to appeal to some people that may have bounced off, specifically with some of the bosses. In the early days of the game, especially pre-patches, the bosses were brutal. In fact, reviewing the game, some of them felt kind of busted and unfair. Thankfully, a lot of that has been cleaned up.
I mean, to be fair, that's actually true. The game did have balancing issues in some departments in some ways. A lot of it, though, originally is the fact that people went in a direction where the level of the enemies is way too high, and you should not be there. It's an open world game, but it doesn't scale with you. This is not Diablo 4. So people went into places that they should not have been in. They went to a boss, saw that a single hit does this much of their life bar, and a single hit from the enemy does this much over their life bar, and then they said, why can't I finish this? This is poorly balanced. Yes, level scaling, world scaling with your character has ruined a lot of things in life. I personally blame Blizzard.
Battles are still challenging, don't get it twisted, but they didn't neuter them from what I can tell. The challenge is still there, but it's not as batshit insane and as awkward. You can also now re-challenge bosses after you beat them. In this update, they also tweaked.
That's an old update. That's a really old update. That was months ago, the boss re-challenge thing.
blockades, meaning places you liberate can eventually return to their original state, and you can just get more fighting and combat and gameplay in. Also, there are little things slightly tweaked to the starting quests that feel a little better. Early puzzles and early moments are slightly less finicky, but still kind of vague and strange to a new
A liberal somewhere is screeching, "Don't kill the poor goblins. They're just Mexican immigrants."
player. The game generally still just has a rough start. One of the early other big fixes was storage and inventory. Inventory was super limited in the game at launch, and it was just incredibly annoying. Not normal levels of like RPG encumbrance stuff. No, here it was downright frustrating how small your inventory was with no upgrade in sight. But thankfully now, inventory is not only expanded to a reasonable level, but also better organized. It was a mess.
Oh yeah, people love the inventory changes. It's absolutely great. You can find stuff actually, it's just kind of everything you kind of wanted.
Tiers are much better for sorting through stuff, and inventory just feels less vague and awkward overall. Along with that, the game also now has private storage chests to offload and sort all items you don't want with you. This sounds small, but it makes a difference, and it was something that the game sorely needed. It adds up when you're sorting through armor, when you're organizing armor, you're storing food ingredients, all different stuff like that. Now, they have added some fun stuff too. New saddles with specific types for different types of mounts, and yeah, new mounts of all different types of animals. There's new pets. There's also new armor sets, and actually, it seems like Unka and Cliff can share some armor
They add a lot of new armor sets, actually. There's some hot ones.
sets. There is a lot of small stuff like the ability to hide certain weapon sets and sheaths on your character for a specific look that you're going for, as well as adding like just a bit more in general to Unka and Damian to make them more playable. I've only actually experimented with this a little bit. This goes hand in hand with a lot of other quality of life improvements though. More fast travel points, for one, is immediately noticeable if you played the game at launch and then that was it. The game sorely needed those, and they were missing significant fast travel points in very important key areas and places, and it was really, really annoying, but now it is.
They wanted people to traverse the world, which is understandable, but you also should allow more free travel, which is also understandable.
Much less of a problem.
You know what I like in games? I like games that allow you to explore things, but I also like when they do have fast travel because I want to do what I want to do. I will always prioritize games that just give me freedom to do stuff. If your world has 100 million things to explore, I don't actually want to explore 100 million things. If your world, unlike Starfield, can be literally traversed from start to finish like a round circle, that's cool to know, but I'll never do that, but it is cool to know. And freedom of movement is great. But sometimes I don't really feel like exploring new stuff. Sometimes I just want to do the quest that I am on, okay? I just want to finish it. And I don't care what I encounter on the way. And that's when I want fast travel. If I want to explore an area, I don't want to. I don't necessarily want to explore the things before that area per se. Maybe I want to fast travel there and then explore the area, not explore everything until the area. I hope that's understandable. I think a lot of people feel the same way, honestly, about that. Wait, why do we have an extended fighting segment here?
The UI overall looks better. The map and organization and the tabbing for maps and menus is better. They've added some tabs. The UI in general just looks better. At a glance info is easier. Shopping and navigating menus with traders is better now. You can now also adjust font sizes, which was a common request, especially if, like me, you were playing on a TV. They've tweaked lots of small stuff like this, like even crafting and recovering materials with smithies, tweaks to how a lot of the RPG stuff works like that, Abyss artifact.
It's actually crazy how how open the devs are to actually change the game from what they originally even envisioned to just what people want. One of the craziest things that they did in the game, now granted, I don't know if that's still a thing, but at one point there was a bug that people found that allowed people to effectively just fast travel in the air to a degree. And the devs didn't patch it out, didn't write a blog post, unlike Blizzard, about how fucking stupid the players are for using a bug and breaking their vision. They literally just added that bug as a feature into the game as a skill. People liked it. And the devs were like, oh, people like this. Unintended, but cool. We're going to stick with it. Okay, here it is. An actual, real skill now. And people loved it.
Availability has seemingly improved. Also, little tweaks to control scheme options go a long way with how Cliff moves, but also how you ride your horse. It does take some getting used to, but it's a bit less frustrating in feel. This, plus little updates to base level stamina consumption, have helped the game feel better with how you're sprinting and running and gliding. You, of course, could upgrade your stamina, but at a base level at the start of the game, it was just very frustrating with how quickly that meter burned. Now it's a little better. Also, cross-save has been added. That is something you don't...
There are so many games that actually have the low stamina at the start of the game, so it hinders you a lot. And devs just refuse to fix it and patch it. It is crazy how many games over the decades have been that have like some kind of stamina that makes you run, and it's shit. And it's really bad. And you can't use it at the early game, and they're like, no, this is how it is. Suffer.
Don't see usually added to a game like this very quickly. It took much longer for other big games like Witcher or Cyberpunk. It's only for a specific type of sicko like me, but having cross-save is nice and useful, especially considering it seems like console performance is a little better. On PC, it still looks and runs really nicely, and I think overall it really helps due to just like constant bug removal. Like all these updates come with little hotfixes and bug removals and glitch removals and stuff like that, to the point where in my couple of days of playing here, I only had like 1 or 2 little issues, and they were mostly just open world goofiness, but nothing devastating, game breaking, or even really immersion breaking. You can decorate more around your house as well as outside of it. The list goes on and on with small things like this, but again, they do add up. Are they the coolest? Are they the most attention grabbing? No, but I think for people who have touched the game and jump back in, they'll notice it. For me,
the lighting in the house, by the way, is horrible, as you could see there.
A lot of it was the map and fast travel and inventory and UI stuff. I just really appreciate how much better it is, and that to me was noticeable. They've also, like just as of a few days ago, added more options for trading, like making it a full-on in-depth system, updating how trading storage works and how you transport it. Wagons are in-depth, and there's wagon shops. They added hundreds of trading posts around the map, apparently 133, and different...
Yeah, the whole economy got effectively rebalanced.
Different types of trade goods. So there's now a whole supply and demand system to take advantage of for trading. You can pay attention to it, and you can potentially earn a bunch of money. It was something that I think only a small section of players were essentially messing around with and really clamoring for, but it's still really cool that they added a whole system like this. It's insane. And what I've appreciated with this is that some updates do actually break things.
You know what's crazy about Crimson Blizzard is this flower right here. What's it called? When you see this shit, when you see this in Tainted Grail, you're like, oh my god, I need this. Every single time.
Insane. And what I've appreciated with this is that some updates do actually break things. Like a few days ago, people noticed that their shields on their backs would go missing sometimes. And oftentimes, a lot of that stuff is very quickly hotfixed. I think that this really just points to a good process here with Pearl Abyss. And I hope that things are only going to get better. They're moving fast and they're breaking things with this, but they're making sure to actually clean up behind themselves. At least from what I can see after jumping back in for a few days, and then also just catching up with community posts and hotfix stuff. Pearl Abyss has mentioned adding story stuff and tweaking stuff. They've alluded to that in interviews, but I expect the bulk of that is going to take much longer. I don't know how much they can really change because I don't care about Cliff or much of his adventure. He's a stiff character, and random stuff just kind of happens as you go from quest to quest. They can tweak and flesh out some stuff, they can add detail, but I don't expect this is going to dramatically become this deeply emotional, story-heavy investment in this adventure, like that type of thing, anytime soon. Still, I wouldn't put it past them completely improving this stuff just by looking at the track record so far. Again, there's more updates and fixes that I don't quite have the time to go into, but overall, playing again, there is an overall improvement here. Enough for new players to just have a less frustrating game, slightly, and enough for people that bounced off of it to have a smoother experience. Is it a radically transformed game? No. If you still hate Crimson Desert, you're still gonna hate this game, trust me. But absolutely fixed up.
I feel that's a little bit harsh of a sentence to say. Oh, but in any case, the game's better. There's a lot of changes. If you played it at the start and haven't played it now, I mean, there's a lot of stuff. And chances are, hopefully you like it. Anyway, that was Game Ranks 10 out of 10. Bye.